Hello and welcome. I'm Rawia Alami and this is the Dailies, where we take a look at important news stories, reports, analyses and articles published in newspapers and media outlets across the world. Almost all news outlets reported on the latest episode of President Trump's tariff wars, this time with the full weight of American tariffs, about 50%, going into effect against India. American newspapers continue to focus on Federal Reserve power struggle with the president, with many reporting on federal government Lisa Cook's intention to sue over firing. On the other global issues, the developments in the Middle East and also the investigations into Israel's double targeting of Al-Nasser Hospital in Gaza continued to receive quite a bit of attention as well. And on a lighter note, many newspapers and media outlets reported today on the high-profile engagement of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. We'll start with the New York Times, which published a comprehensive report reviewing President Trump's aggressive new tariff plan, which marks one of the most sweeping trade moves in U.S. history. Nearly every country faces higher duties, with some nations hit far harder than others. India, for example, is now subject to tariffs as high as 50%, while Canada and Mexico secured limited exemptions under the USMCA framework. Also, the report included charts and maps, as you can see, showing American tariff rates in comparison to where they stood previously. The report explains how Trump is also ending the long-standing exemption on small imports under $800, meaning everyday Americans could feel the pinch when shopping online. The piece suggests Trump's tariffs are designed to strengthen U.S. leverage abroad, but warns they may also drive up costs at home, leaving families and businesses to bear the consequences. And we'll stay with the New York Times, which also published a report reviewing the growing clash between Washington and New Delhi over India's oil trade with Russia. The piece highlights President Trump's decision as a pressuring tactic on India after Trump accused the country of funding Russia's war in Ukraine. The report contends that Trump he is seeking to pressure Moscow and close also America's $44 billion trade deficit with India. To do so, he imposed steep 50% tariffs on Indian goods. The piece also goes on to explain how India became one of Russia's largest buyers of crude, importing nearly half of its oil from Moscow at discounted prices. While India insists these purchases are essential for its fast-growing economy, critics argue the trade undermines Western sanctions. The report shows how Trump's move threatens to derail U.S.-India relations, raising questions about energy security, global alliances, and the cost of geopolitical rivalry. Moving on to the Washington Post, which published a report examining President Trump's claims about Washington, D.C.'s recent 12-day homicide-free stretch. The report claims that while Trump hailed it as unprecedented, city records show an even longer 16-day streak earlier this year. The piece highlights how Trump and his aides exaggerated the achievement, with some officials even suggesting it was historic. Still, crime data does show a sharp decline in both violent and property crimes since Trump ordered a federal takeover of the D.C. police on August the 11th, though those numbers were already trending downward before. The report notes that Trump's new executive orders are pushing tougher bail rules, more policing, and even calling for the death penalty in homicide cases. Now, for residents, the report raises questions about crime policy, political spin, and real safety outcomes. The Post also published a report exploring President Trump's plan to remove Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, framing it as part of a broader effort to reshape central bank. While the move may appear technical, the report stresses its direct impact on everyday Americans. The Federal Reserve sets interest rates which affect mortgages, credit card debt, and also the job market. And undermining its independence could create uncertainty in financial markets and also risk higher borrowing costs for households. The piece also warns that politicizing the Fed could reduce global confidence in the U.S. economy, potentially raising prices and weakening the dollar. The report concludes that for ordinary citizens, Trump's challenge to the Fed is less about Washington power struggles and more about the stability of their daily economic lives. As for the Wall Street Journal, it was cautiously pessimistic about President Trump's unprecedented attempt to fire Lisa Cook, warning the move could end decades of Fed independence from the White House. The report warns that while markets reacted calmly, investors may be underestimating the long-term consequences. It goes on to say that if Trump succeeds or even partly shapes the Fed with loyal appointees, interest rates could increasingly reflect political goals rather than economic data. That could mean, indeed, higher, more volatile inflation and also weaker confidence in U.S. financial stability. The piece also stresses that no president has ever tried to remove a Fed governor, making this a historic test. It concludes that Americans should prepare for the shift, where monetary policy becomes another battleground for partisan politics. The Telegraph's coverage of the double Israeli strike on Al-Nasser Hospital in Gaza a few days ago offers a detailed, on-the-ground account of the attack that killed 20 people, including journalists, medics, patients, and rescue workers. The report highlights the competing narratives. The IDF claims the attack targeted a Hamas-operated camera, while eyewitnesses and media sources underscore the indiscriminate impact on civilians and medical staff. The report meticulously also reconstructs the sequence of events, noting the 10-minute gap between strikes that amplified casualties. Legal and ethical concerns are also raised, particularly regarding proportionality, intent, and the potential classification as a war crime. The piece contextualizes the strike within ongoing Israeli-Palestinian hostilities, emphasizing the broader humanitarian and reputational consequences for Israel. After causing a political whirlwind yesterday, Nigel Farage's reform announcement was the focus of many British newspapers today. The Times published an analysis of Farage's Reform UK immigration policy, and it critically examined the feasibility of deporting up to 600,000 migrants within 5 years. The report highlights the plan's sweeping scope, including repealing human rights laws, detaining asylum seekers, and also arranging deportations to high-risk countries such as Afghanistan and Eritrea. It underscores the logistical and legal challenges, from securing detention facilities and arranging flights to navigating international treaties. The piece also notes that the use of financial incentives and potential deals with third countries or overseas territories. Overall, the analysis portrays the plan as politically provocative, but highly impractical and also costly, as well as riddled with ethical and legal concerns, leaving its real-world implementation deeply uncertain. The Economist tried to answer the question of whether foreign tourists have really avoided America this year. In its report, The Economist highlights how America's tourism industry is feeling the impact of President Trump's polarizing policies. Tariffs, increased deportations, and National Guard deployments have contributed to a noticeable drop in foreign visitors, particularly from Canada. The report points out that while some areas like Florida resorts are performing well and domestic travelers are indeed spending more, inside the country, the overall trend is downward. The piece quotes analysts who warn this decline could cost the U.S. billions and worsen the tourism trade deficit. The report emphasizes that political tensions are directly influencing travel patterns, suggesting that the country's international appeal is eroding and that the economic repercussions may be long-lasting if the current climate continues. And we'll end with the Daily Mail, which provides an insider look at Taylor Swift's engagement to Travis Kelce, highlighting the romantic planning behind the scenes. Sources reveal that Kelce orchestrated the proposal entirely himself, seeking family blessings and carefully choosing a $1 million diamond ring. Friends and family describe the event as a traditional and also heartfelt affair. Of course, both families, or it reflects both families' support. The report emphasizes Kelce's meticulous attention to details, as you can see from these pictures, as well as his long-standing commitment to Swift, and also hints at a grand wedding in the making. By blending celebrity glamour with behind-the-scenes insight, the piece frames the engagement as both a public spectacle and an intimate family milestone, appealing to fans' fascination with Swift's personal life. That's it for today. Thanks for watching.